With the provincial and parliamentary elections drawing close, political parties have expedited their preparations. CPN Maoist Center and CPN Unified Socialist have decided to share the same election manifesto for the upcoming polls as unification efforts also gain momentum. Meanwhile, as parties and leaders are busy with poll preparations, government works have been rendered even more sluggish with crucial projects left stranded. Good morning, I'm Abheudaya Shrestha, and these are the headlines of the hour. Election Commission tightens screws in its proposal of the Election Code of Conduct. Candidates will now need to present estimated election expenses and source of income during candidacy registration. Government's preparations to mobilize over 100,000 staff for the upcoming elections directly affects public services, the public bearing the brunt even in very essential services. Russia accuses Ukrainian special services of killing the daughter of one of Russian President Vladimir Putin's allies in a car bombing at the weekend. And Manchester United produces an outstanding display to defeat Liverpool 2-1 and give manager Erik ten Hag his first English Premier League victory. The Election Commission has proposed to prohibit the Prime Minister and ministers from campaigning for elections in a bid to reduce the number of Election Code of Conduct violations. Parties, meanwhile, are not very pleased with the proposal. The Election Code of Conduct also bars parties and candidates from using more than 10 national flags during election processions, assemblies, door-to-door campaigns, among others, during promotions. Likewise, in order to make election expenses more transparent, the Election Commission has made it mandatory to disclose individuals' identity while opening a bank account. The Commission has also made it mandatory to present estimated election expenses and disclose sources of income while registering for candidacy. Candidates are also required to hold transactions above 25,000 rupees through bank accounts. Regarding helicopter use during the election, 2 candidates from a single party can take permission from the Election Commission. Ministers and office bearers at local government entities have been barred from being the main promoter during election campaigns, which Nepali Congress has opposed to. Candidates are only allowed to use a maximum of 4 light vehicles during campaigns, and the Election Commission has prohibited the use of foreign number plate vehicles. Meanwhile, political parties have demanded the Commission to reduce the silent period to 24 hours from the existing 48 hours and have urged the Commission to hire an independent unit for election monitoring. The Commission had representatives from 12 parties at a discussion yesterday. CPN Maoist Center and CPN Unified Socialist will be contesting in the upcoming elections under a single manifesto. Yesterday's meeting, which included the participation of CPN Maoist Center Chairperson Pushpa Kamal Dahal, Senior Vice Chairperson Narayankaji Shrestha, and CPN Unified Socialist Chair Madhav Kumar Nepal, decided to form a Unity Coordination Committee and share the same election manifesto. Preparations are even being made to unite the 2 parties. According to Maoist Center's Senior Vice Chairperson Shrestha, a Unity Coordination Committee will be formed within a few days to unite the 2 parties. Meanwhile, CPN Unified Socialist has already formed its committee. Saying that the announcement of the unity between the 2 parties will be made after the elections, Senior Vice Chairperson Shrestha informed that the responsibility to prepare a draft for the unification will be given to the Unity Coordination Committee. The effects of the November 20th provincial and parliamentary elections have begun showing in the implementation of policies, programs, and the budget of the federal and provincial governments. Programs declared by departmental ministries have been affected as ruling parties have shifted their focus for the upcoming polls. Likewise, the government's preparation to mobilize over 100,000 staff at the polls has directly affected public services. Government units generally spend the post-budget announcement period for forming policies, programs, and plans for budget implementation. However, 1 month since the ongoing fiscal year, the government has yet to look over these duties. Around 50 billion rupees has been announced for employment and entrepreneurial programs. The government had intended to implement programs like Make in Nepal and provide opportunities for 10,000 youth entrepreneurs. However, these employment programs have been limited to papers. Capital expenditure has been limited to less than 1% so far. Meanwhile, analysts say Prime Minister Sherbahadur Deuba's focus has been on the election and ruling coalition's election equation. All 22 ministries have remained ineffective as ministers are busy in election campaigns and training programs. Public services have also been disrupted. Service seekers are still having to wait for months to get their national ID and licenses as the government is preparing to mobilize 100,000 of the public officials for the November elections. The story is no different for the provincial governments as chief ministers and ministers at the provinces have been making rounds of the party's central office for election tickets. In our Public Voice segment, we had asked the general public how have they found services at government units. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
Public Voice.
अहिले राष्ट्रिय परिचय पत्रको लागि जनताले अलि बढी दुःख भएको अवस्था छ।
घरको र फरको गर्छन् नजाने कुरा त बुझ्न सोध्न त पर्यो नि।
टाढाबाट युवाहरूलाई त सजिलै नै छ तर बुढापाकाहरूलाई हल्का समस्या नि छ।
सरकारी सेवा त राम्रै छ भनौं।
पहिले कार्यालयमा आउँदाखेरि खासै कर्मचारीहरू भेटिनु थिएन। अहिले चाहिँ भेटिएर सजिलो तरिकाले आफ्नो कामहरू गर्न सकिएको छ।
नातावाद कृपावादहरू चलाइरहेका हुन्छन्।
सानो कामको लागि पनि 4 घण्टा 5 घण्टा बिहानदेखि बेलुकासम्म पर्खिनु पर्छ।
झट्टै चाहिएको पासपोर्टको लागि पनि तपाईले लगभग 2 महिना 3 महिना कुर्नु पर्ने।
विगतका वर्षहरूको भन्दा यो वर्ष चाहिँ अलिक सरल र छिटो भएको महसुस मैले चाहिँ गरे।
पहिला भन्दा जस एकदम इम्प्रुभ भयो बेटर भयो।
पहिला चाहिँ ढिला हुन्थ्यो काम अहिले चाहिँ छिटो छरिदो हुने रहेछ।
रोकाइदिनुहुन्छ कुनै कुनै ठाउँमा थोरै गल्ती भए पनि
चिनेको छ भने चाहिँ उहाँहरूले राम्रो बिहेभ गर्ने।
प्रतिलिपि लिन आएको नागरिकताको प्रतिलिपि लिनको लागि अत्यन्तै सजिलो रहेछ।
अगाडिको चोटिको भन्दा चाहिँ यो चोटि अलि फास्ट नै भयो।
भिडभाड भएको कारणले चाहिँ कहिलेकाहीँ अब ढिला सुस्ती त भइहाल्छ नत्र राम्रै छ।
सिकाउनुको सट्टामा उल्टै गाली गरेर राख्नु भए पनि देखिरहेछ।
The bill on transitional justice is scheduled to be presented at the House of Representatives today. Meanwhile, the government has said it would not be able to withdraw the serious nature criminal cases that were filed against the cadres of the Netra Bikram Chand-led Nepal Communist Party. Of the 610 cases of various district administrations against the cadres of Nepal Communist Party, verdicts have been handed out in 523 cases, while the remaining 87 cases are still under consideration. The government has made it clear that of the 198 cases in judicial process, the cases that have been decided by the district courts would not be available for appeal. The KP Sharma Oli-led government and the Netra Bikram Chand-led group had signed a 3-point agreement on 5th of March last year. It's time now for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
Here's the question. What do you term the protest of the government employees? Your options are A, irresponsible act, B, concerns over rights, and C, consequence of government lapses. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B, or C, and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. Securities Board of Nepal is considering implementing a cap of 5 rupees as service charge for banks when the public apply for IPOs or initial public offerings. Speaking at a program, Possibility of Financial Derivative in Nepali Capital Market, organized by Nepal Stock Exchange yesterday, Sibon chairperson Ramesh Hamal informed that the board was mulling over the proposal. At present, 12 banking and financial institutions have been charging from 1 to 100 rupees as service charge for IPOs. Standard Chartered Bank has been charging the highest 100 rupees, while Prabhu Bank the lowest 1 rupee. 15 other commercial banks have been providing the service free of charge. There are over 2 million IPO investors in the Nepali share market. That's all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.